Hello and welcome to another video. Today's topic is soloing. How do I get started with soloing? Where do I put my fingers? Whereabouts on the fretboard? What do I do? What about scales? How do those work? But never fear, we're going to cover a lot of these, not all in today's video, but in today's and one or two others that I'm planning on doing. So let's assume that you're starting and you've got a few chords under your belt and you're making progress, but you've got this black dog feeling about soloing. It all seems a bit of a mystery, but I think I can help you demystify it. One issue that comes up all the time, and you can't help it when you're trying to learn an instrument, is that you've got this conflict between the left side of your brain and the right side. One side being responsible for creativity. So, for example, playing the guitar to express yourself rather, and how you feel. And if you're sad, playing a blues that convinces the audience that you're feeling that way. And the other side of your brain is all about setting up your gear. What's that crackling? Oh my God, is my amp going to give up on me? And so on and so on. But we've got to try and sort those out somehow. I know I feel them most acutely when I'm going to a gig. So you've got all the one, I can't remember if it's to the left or the right, but the gizmo side of the brain, shall we say, is all about finding your way to the gig, finding a place to load in, where am I supposed to go, sorting out at the venue, like, yeah, you really expect us to play in that little space? Okay, don't worry. Getting all the trailing plugs into place and setting up the lighting. And by the time you're due to go on and do your first song, and you're feeling more than a bit jittery, because you've now got to think, right, let's just try and ignore all that other practical stuff and get on with creating some music that people will enjoy, that you can communicate to them. But anyway, that's just a little moan. Obviously, once you become a big star, everybody does all the mechanical stuff for you, and a guitar tech hands you your instrument as you walk onto the stage across that beautiful Persian rug that they've specially laid down to make you feel comfortable, and so you're immediately in the creative zone. Anyway, I'm droning on, but a number of people have commented they quite like me droning on and telling stories from the good old days, but there we are. Let's crack on. First, we need to talk about scales. The bad news is that in Western music that you and I are all familiar with, there's 2,047 different scales, including modes. I'm not going to explain those here. So that's what Mr. Google says. But you don't have to panic. Only about 12 different scales are commonly used in practice for playing pop, rock and blues guitar. And those 12 scales have given birth to all the wonderful Western pop, rock and blues music, and the melange of all those three that we've all enjoyed so much over the years. In my case, more years than I care to remember, because it was my birthday yesterday. Yes, and I'm exactly the same age, born on the same day as Ozzy Osbourne. So at least poor old Ozzy's gone, and I'm still able to live to tell the tale for the time being. But there we are. And he didn't live so far away from where I was brought up in the Midlands. He was in Birmingham, and I was lived in a town during my teens, not too far away from there. Anyway, that's as far as the resemblance ends, because from the first time I ever heard Black Sabbath, I thought, that's not for me. So I was well into Peter Green, B.B. King, Jeff Beck, etc. by then. So it's not only 12 scales, there's even better news, I beg your pardon. There's 2 that we can focus on. Yeah, and that's what we're going to do today. They are called the Minor Pentatonic scale and the Major Pentatonic scale. Now, let's delve into those, and then how do you eat the elephant? Well, the answer is, of course, a little teaspoon at a time. So once you get the Major Pentatonic scale and the Minor Pentatonic scale under your fingers, and it is something you have to learn, okay? There's no way of avoiding that, but they're fairly easy to learn. No elaborate fingering, it's just places on the fretboard, but you do need to memorize it. And we'll have some diagrams and demonstrations to help you on your journey. Okay, just have a listen to this quickly. This is a short extract from Shakin' All Over by Johnny Kidd and the Pirates.
When you moving right up close to me.
That's wonderful. That was recorded in 1960, was a #1 hit here in the UK in 1960. It wasn't a #1 hit in the US, but it was in Canada and Australia, and a band in the US called Guess Who covered it, I think in 1965. But I'm playing it to you because it's in E minor, and that opening lick is done on the E minor shape. Which is extremely close, here's a diagram, to the Minor Pentatonic scale. In fact, the notes, that's going descending down the Minor Pentatonic scale, but not using the A. But it's just to give you a feel, just letting you know that's the kind of sound of the Minor Pentatonic. If we move up the fretboard, keeping that E minor shape, and go to the 5th fret, and this diagram shows you the Minor Pentatonic at the 5th fret, and it's very close, as you can see, to the A minor chord. So, as you probably know already, the minor scales in Western music tend to denote sad, classical symphonies in D minor denotes that the symphony is going to tug at your heartstrings. It's that key that, to our Western ears, makes the music that we're listening to sound sad, doleful, regretful, etc. Whereas music played in a major key, here's A major, sounds optimistic, up, and yeah, just the opposite of what a minor feels like. So a minor pentatonic scale, here's the diagram again. That's the one you have to learn. Here's a snippet of B.B. King, who almost plays entirely using the major pentatonic scale. You'll get the idea. Have a listen. It's terrific because B.B. King, who plays, by the way, mostly around the area called, nicknamed the B.B. King box. And you can see in that video snippet, you can see his hands on the 10th and 12th fret noodling around this B.B. King box. And we'll talk about that box in the context of learning some licks and solos in a future video. But he's essentially playing major pentatonic. Albert King, on the other hand, and Stevie Ray Vaughan, who was heavily influenced by Albert King, almost always, probably always, plays in the minor pentatonic scale of the key that the particular song is in. Here's a superb, rare clip of Stevie Ray Vaughan and Albert King playing together. Super stuff. These scales are called pentatonic because penta, given 5, is that although there's all these different notes on different frets and different strings that you see in the diagram, if you look closely, there's actually only 5 different notes. So A minor pentatonic, if we start on the root note on the 5th fret, and the red dots, if you haven't already figured it out, denote where the root notes are. So if we play from the bottom string across to the top, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the next note, the 6th, would actually be the octave. And so therefore that starts again then. So just to repeat, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then exactly the same notes, but on the next octave up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and then we stop. So you're only actually playing 5 notes, 6 if you want to include the other octave at the start and octave at the bottom. And of course, if you want to, instead of playing in A minor pentatonic, the blues song is in B minor, you just simply move the whole thing up 2 frets. And so on. From A minor, if you want to play the G minor pentatonic for a G minor blues song, you go down 2 and so on. So A minor pentatonic. Where is the major pentatonic for the key of A? Well, it's here. And this pattern is on the 2nd fret. So the eagle-eyed amongst you would have noticed, hang on, those 2 shapes are the same. Let's put them together. Okay, they are the same, but forget about, we're at the 5th fret. Yes, you can play an A minor chord there, but we're not talking about chords. Important, we're talking about scales. So if this is the A minor scale, which lives at the 5th fret, that's an A minor chord. This is a scale. If you go down to the 2nd fret, that's an F sharp minor chord. Yeah, but forget about that. At the 2nd fret, the major pentatonic is the same shape. So that makes them easy to remember because the shapes are the same, but it's all about what fret you're playing them at. Now if I start this scale instead of on F sharp, and here's a wonderful thing, if I start it on the 5th string open, that's A. Have a listen. Now that sounds majory because your ear is listening out for the first note, setting the key. That's the technical kind of explanation as I see it. But you don't have to bother. It suffices to say that the minor pentatonic in the key of A lives here at the 5th fret, and its relative major pentatonic lives there. Okay, that's all well and good, but how does that apply if I'm moving around the fretboard because I'm in different keys? Right, here's a simple rule. Secret rule that I've not seen anybody else on YouTube explain. They probably do in a roundabout way, but I stumbled across this a number of years ago, and don't forget I'm nearly as old as Methuselah, so I learned to play the guitar back in the mid-60s, and when there was no such thing as YouTube, there was nobody to help you unless you knew somebody locally in the neighbourhood who knew how to play the guitar, who could hand on some tips. There wasn't a plethora of guitar teachers, and the whole rock and roll blues thing hadn't taken off, but it was starting to blast off with the Beatles from 1963. By the time I was learning in the mid-late 60s and up until now, all these wonderful things have come along. Tens of thousands of books that you can buy, not to mention the wonderful things that you can see on YouTube. Half of which are extremely useful, half of which can be downright misleading. I'll leave it to you to decide which category this video falls in. But the only aid there was one book here in the UK. Can you believe that? One slim little book, about that thick, called Bert Weedon's Playing a Day. And it looked like this. I don't know, I've lost mine from years back. It's probably worth a few bob now. But Bert Weedon was a guitarist who played in dance bands. It was all about dance bands for his generation. Through the 30s, 40s and 50s, where the guitar player just sat at the back trying to make himself heard, playing big rhythmy things. Lead guitar didn't really start happening for some time. And I think he sold over 2 million of these. I can imagine selling 2 million just in the UK alone, never mind out in the colonies. So it certainly brought in a lot more income than his gigging did. But I struggled through it like lots of other guitarists. Eric Clapton bought a copy, Brian May bought a copy, Sting, Paul McCartney. I mean, everyone at that time bought the book because there was nothing else to tell you how to go about learning to play the guitar. The content was very helpful, but it was also a bit old-fashioned because it didn't teach you how to play any pop songs of the time, and there was no such thing as tab of showing you where to put your fingers, and it was heavily into teaching you music. So back in those days, if you wanted to learn a musical instrument, you have to learn to read music. So it was a bit of a struggle. I did try to learn to read music, but I never did get to sight read it, i.e. to be able to play like a session guy, reading the music and just simply playing it straight off would take me a long time to figure out, you know, FACE, every good boy deserves favours and all that palaver. So I gave up trying to learn. Anyway, that was where a lot of us picked up our early references. And sometimes if you did play a gig with another band was there, you might swap licks, and that happened to me a couple of times. But basically I was 99% on my own in my bedroom, like hundreds of thousands of others here in the UK, trying to figure out how to play Heart Full of Soul by the Yardbirds. That's what we really... or Pretty Woman. Took me ages to learn how to play that lick. I never know, forgotten. But so I found after a few years playing blues, because that was my first love, and it still is, but along with a lot of other types of music, that this simple rule helps you find where the major pentatonic is if you know where the minor pentatonic is. So let's just take something straight out of the blue and say we're playing a blues in D minor. D minor's here on the 10th fret. Okay, you can play the A minor shape for it on the 5th fret. Same thing. But just for reference, we'll take this one. So the pentatonic would be naturally root, minor pentatonic. Where's the major pentatonic? Well, the rule is it's always 3 frets down. 1, 2, 3. So the major pentatonic, if you're playing the major pentatonic equivalent is 1, 2, 3 on the 7th fret. So that's the rule. So it doesn't matter what key it's in, as long as you know what the key is and you're using the E minor brackets chord shape somewhere on the fretboard. So let's say it's not just D minor, it's a song that's in, I don't know, A flat minor. 1, 2, 3 down is where the A flat major pentatonic is. Minor pentatonic, A flat key. It's called, by the way, the technical term is the relative minor rule, or even more technical, the 6th degree. But we don't need to wander into that thicket at this stage. Okay, I'm going to play along with a backing track now that is a blues in A minor, and I'll play a simple solo, so I will try not to bend strings, etc., because in the next lesson we'll have a look at techniques that you can use so that you're not just soloing, because you need also to add into your vocabulary things like hammer-ons, bends, slides, octave playing, all using the notes in the particular pentatonic scale, minor or major. So that's all more about copying other guitarists' licks, which every guitarist has always done. Clapton and many other guitarists in that particular mid-60s era. Just listen to Freddie King, Albert King and B.B. King. B.B. King being the king of the major kind of happy sound, if you like, even though it was a blues. Freddie and Albert, minor pentatonic fans. So lots to pick up from them. If you want recommendations, get B.B. King's LP Live at the Regal, Albert King's live album Blues Power, tremendous stuff on there. I'll give you some recommendations a bit later on, but okay, let's just noodle around a bit. So I'll keep it simple and let you know when I'm changing from minor pentatonic to major pentatonic. So try playing along to different songs in different keys, some backing tracks in a minor key, some in a major key, and then with both of those find backing tracks that enable you to play major pentatonics up and down the fretboard in different positions, and ditto for minor keys. But remember, if the backing track is in a major key, you could use both major pentatonic and minor pentatonic. If it's minor, just use the minor pentatonic for now. And in a future video, don't worry, I'll show you how to put some salt and pepper and spice into the scales for a song in a minor key. So it's not just the minor pentatonic. I'll show you little extra notes that you can add, but that takes us into the area of modes, which is not really for today. Okay, so I'll see you on the next video when we'll look at some more advanced techniques for playing solos, and I'll see you then.